Taehyung was gone for 3 days. And during those 3 days, Yoonwoo didn't even come to school either. Jungkook was honestly really glad. He hated the douche. He thought he loved him, but he now realized. He never did. He was desperate, he guess. On Thursday morning, as Jungkook was walking past the office, he saw a muscular-looking Jew in the window, and he stopped and peered inside. Once he saw who it was, he barged inside, and Taehyung looked over at him. He had a gash on his lip, which honestly just made him look tougher and hotter, especially the light purple bruise on his eye, which only made it half open. There was also a dry bloodied cut on the edge of his eyebrow. Once he saw Jungkook, his crude lips curved into a mischievous smile. Jungkook, what the hell were you thinking? Jungkook asked as he approached, stopping a couple feet in front of him and crossing his arms. Jungkook's eyes glaring at him. He was trying so hard not to melt at his attractiveness, damn. Taehyung, just protecting my favorite boy, princess. Taehyung took a step closer, and Jungkook took a step back. Jungkook, why are you here? Taehyung, I need to talk to the principal before I can go to class. His dark eyes were looking up and down at him. Taehyung, damn, you're more beautiful than the last time I saw you. Jungkook, oh my god, shut up. He growled. Jungkook, I can't believe you. Daniel is gonna hate me. Taehyung, hey, don't worry about anything, baby boy. His voice was so slick, so cool. Taehyung, you have me to protect you. Jungkook, I don't need you to protect me. He said frustratingly. Jungkook, I never even asked for your help in the first place. I barely even know you. You act as if you've known me for years. Taehyung, I'm gonna protect you, Jungkook. His voice was becoming soft. No matter what. Quote. Desk lady, Kim Taehyung, Mr. Lasner would like to see you now. Taehyung's dark eyes wandered at Jungkook for a couple more seconds, then he smirked and followed the front desk lady to an office. Jungkook just groaned and rolled my eyes, and hurried up to class. Jimin, have you seen or talked to Yoonwoo since? You know when? Jimin popped a French fry in his mouth. Jungkook, number. He grumbled, rubbing his temples in frustration. Jungkook, I don't even want to anyway. I hope him getting beat up by Taehyung put some damn sense in his mind. Gosh, I just can't believe him. Jimin, who? Jungkook, both of them really. Jimin, oh come on, Taehyung's the good guy. Jungkook, dude, what don't you understand? Bad guy. Taehyung even could admit that himself. Jimin, so Yoonwoo's the good guy. Jungkook, none of them are good guys. He was getting angrier and angrier. Jimin, but you know you like Taehyung better. Jimin's raised his eyebrows at me. Jimin, he's helped you and protected you. Jungkook, but not in a good way. He groaned. Jungkook, I mean, he just gets in the way with everything. I don't even know him. I don't need his help. I don't want his help. Jimin, Jungkook, you're just being really rude. Jungkook glared at him, and Jimin raised his eyebrows. Jimin, I'm serious. This dude has been doing so much for you, and all you have to say is, I hate him, I don't want his help. Quote. Jungkook, I don't hate him. Jimin, then how do you feel about him? Jungkook was silent. He stared down at his fingers, fiddling with HHIS thumbs. He heard Jimin smirk. Jimin, you like him. Jungkook, number. Jimin, yes you do. Jimin's smile increased. Jimin, you want him, you wanna kiss him. Jungkook, seriously Jimin, I'm not in the mood. He just laughed, and stood up to throw his trash away. Jimin, think about it. He said before he left. Jungkook, how would it be like to date a bad boy? And that question repeated in Jungkook's head for the rest of the night. On Friday night, he received a text from an unknown number. Jungkook, listen, I'm really sorry. Jillian is a bitch, and I'm a dick for what I did. I'm so sorry, I really do. Love you, Yoonwoo. Quote. Jungkook wanted to throw his phone across the room. He had completely deleted his contact, erased, and thrown away everything he had of him. And now, after he was beat shitless by Taehyung, he wants him back. Really fucker. Jungkook POV. Listen here, asshole. I will never love you. I hate all of you. I don't care what you do or what you say or how you feel. You will always mean nothing to me. And don't think about crawling back to me or harming me or anything. Because I have a guy here that would do anything for me. A guy that knows how to treat me right. So shut the fuck up and leave me the fuck alone. Alone. Quote. I knew half of that was a lie. I knew I couldn't completely trust Taehyung. I knew he didn't respect plenty of girls and boys at our school. H was heartless and he was rude and he was a player who has cheated on many just for S. Eventually, maybe half an hour later, I received a text back. I don't care about that motherfucker. He might have beat me up that one time, but I know he won't do it again. I'll get you back, Jungkook. You'll see. And you'll love me more than ever. Quote. I found Taehyung's number online and sent the text to him. I don't know why I did it. I mean, I always told Taehyung to never help me. I told him I didn't like him and I just wanted him to leave me alone. But now, I just sent a text from Yoonwoo to Taehyung. Why? I gulped. I didn't even want to read Taehyung's reply. I turned my phone to silent, and then I stuffed it under my pillow, and I laid my head down, closed my eyes, and tried to fall asleep. Jungkook POV end. It was his brother that shook his awake next morning. Jin, Jungkook, get up. Jin's voice was pretty tired. Jin, it's already like 6:45, and somebody is at the door for you. Jungkook frowned, quickly getting up and getting dressed. Jin was doing laundry in the hallway. Jungkook, who's at the door? He asked as he quickly done his hair. Jin, I don't know. No, some tough-looking dude. Jungkook froze. Jungkook, did you let him inside? Jin, yes. He's waiting by the front door right now, so if I were you, I would hurry. Jungkook, wait, does he have tattoos? Jin, yes. How does he know where I live? He thought in his mind. Jungkook groaned and quickly rushed downstairs, completely skipping breakfast. And he stopped when he saw Taehyung standing there, his hands in his jean pockets, his dark eyes looking at Jungkook up and down. Jungkook, I know, I look terrible, I just woke up. Jungkook said, and he smirked. Taehyung, you look beautiful, princess. Jungkook rolled his eyes, and grabbed his arm and pulled him outside, closing the front door behind them. Jungkook, what are you doing here? Jungkook stopped on the front steps. Jungkook, how do you know where I live? Taehyung, well, I don't think you've ever noticed, sweetheart, but I live just a couple houses down from here. Quote. Jungkook eyebrows raised, and Taehyung smirked, and grabbed his hand and led him to the edge of the sidewalk. His fingers, for some reason, felt perfect in Jungkook. He pointed at a small white house literally 2 doors down from Jungkook's. He was right, Jungkook never noticed that Kim Taehyung was his neighbor. Jungkook, Taehyung, you can't be here. He muttered. Taehyung frowned, and looked at him. Taehyung, why not, baby? Jungkook, don't call me that. He snapped. Jungkook, and because if my brother finds out who you are, he's gonna kill you. Taehyung, your brother can't stop me from seeing you. His voice became lower and softer as he took small, slow steps toward him. Jungkook backed away quickly and looked at his car nervously. Jungkook, Taehyung, just say what you need to say, and leave. Taehyung, I'm taking you to school, sweetheart. Jungkook gulped as Taehyung smirked and walked over to his car, opening the driver's door, and stepping inside. He reached over and opened the passenger door up for him, and looked back at him. Taehyung, come on baby boy, get inside. Jungkook groaned as he stomped over with my bag, and got in the seat, closed the door, and he spewed away. Taehyung, so. Taehyung took his phone out of his pocket, and Jungkook watched closely as he opened his text. He gulped. I should have kept my phone with me, thought in his mind. Taehyung, why didn't you answer my calls? Jungkook, why you called me? He asked softly, and Taehyung looked over at him, and nodded slowly. Taehyung, 4 times, he muttered. Jungkook, I shouldn't have sent you that text, Taehyung. He whispered. Taehyung, no, you should have. He put his phone in the cup holder next to him. Taehyung, and I'm glad you did, because now I know what to do. Jungkook, Taehyung, don't hurt him anymore. He warned. Jungkook, I don't want 2 guys fighting over me all the time. It puts way too much stress in my life. Taehyung, princess, I'm doing everything I can to protect you. Jungkook felt Taehyung's hand rest itself on top of his, and Jungkook gulped. Taehyung, and if it means hurting others, I'll do so. Jungkook, stop it, Taehyung. He growled. Jungkook, I told you not to help me. Taehyung, then why did you send me that text? Jungkook didn't have an answer. Jungkook fiddled with his notebooks and textbooks in his locker. He groaned as a pen fell out of his pencil pouch, and he quickly put it back in there and zipped it up. He sighed as he closed his locker, and when he turned, he gasped. Yoonwoo was leaning against the locker right next to his green eyes, watching him. Yoonwoo, I've missed you, Jungkook. He said, and Jungkook just rolled his eyes and began walking the other direction. But he followed him. Yoonwoo, you know, that Kim Taehyung guy is nothing but trouble. Jungkook, well, luckily he knows how to treat me right. He snapped, turning around to face him. Yoonwoo, he won't soon, no. Yoonwoo grinned. Yoonwoo, he'll cheat on you like he does to every other boy he dates. He'll abuse you and yell at you until you're begging for him to stop. You don't know him, Jungkook, and neither do you. He growled. Jungkook, so just leave me and Taehyung alone. Yoonwoo, you and Taehyung. He continued to follow him. Yoonwoo, what, so are you guys already a couple? Jungkook, number. He muttered. Are you and Jillian a couple? Yoonwoo, she's a bitch, I'd much rather have you. Jungkook, that's not what you said. Yoonwoo, babe, I've changed. Suddenly, Jungkook felt his hands on his shoulders, and he pushed Jungkook's back against some lockers, his chest up against Jungkook, his green eyes staring at him. Yoonwoo, I know now how I truly feel about you. Jungkook, so, do L. Jungkook spat, trying to push him off from him, but he wouldn't budge. Jungkook, I hate you. Yoonwoo, say what you want, you won't make me change my feelings for you, babe. Yoonwoo's lips came closer and closer to him, and Jungkook turned his head away, closing his eyes, trying hard not to cry in frustration. Jungkook, I used to love you, Yoonwoo, I admit it. He sputtered out. Jungkook, but now I hate you. You cheated on me, and I've come to realize that I will never love you. Fuck, even like you, like I did before. Yoonwoo, you just keep repeating that in your little pretty head, Yoonwoo whispered, his lips brushing against his jaw, and just then, somebody grabbed his back and flung him off of me. Jungkook watched as Taehyung stood protectively in front of him, his dark, glaring eyes on Yoonwoo as the guy got himself up and off the ground. Taehyung, stay the fuck away from my boy. Taehyung growled. His boy, I don't think so. Yoonwoo, your boy. Yoonwoo got up, a glare in his eyes, but also a smirk on his face. Yoonwoo, he was mine first. And I'll fight with you if I have to get him back. Taehyung, he hates you, fucker. Taehyung snapped. Taehyung, he's said it a bunch of times, and he'll say it more if he must. Now leave him alone, before I fucking murder you. Quote. Yoonwoo chuckled, his playful green eyes looking back at Jungkook. He winked, and walked off, making him shake inside. Jungkook gulped as Taehyung slowly turned around to face him, his dark eyes softening. Taehyung, are you okay? He stepped closer to Jungkook, but he backed away, making him frown. Jungkook, I need some air. Jungkook rushed out of the hallway and out the front doors, looking for a trash can. His stomach was churning with dissatisfaction. He found one, and hauled himself at it, dunking his head inside and throwing up. He heard the front doors open and somebody rush out to him, and then, he felt his hands trail into his hair, pulling it back as he let him throw up. One hand gripped his hair, the other one rubbing his lower back. Jungkook gulped as he finished, his mouth tasting disgusting, and then, Taehyung handed him some napkins. Jungkook took them gradually, wiping his face off, putting his hands on the trash can and bending forward, completely embarrassed. Jungkook, I'm sorry. Taehyung, it's okay, princess. Jungkook gulped as he looked up at him. His eyes were soft, a concerned smile on his face. Jungkook, I want to go home. I whispered. Taehyung, okay. He picked him up bridal style, put him in the passenger seat of his car, and then climbed inside, driving away, his hand gripping Jungkook tightly. Thank God Jin was at work. Jungkook walked weakly inside his house, Taehyung silently following him. They didn't say anything to each other. Jungkook just led him up to his bedroom, where he plopped down on the covers. Taehyung, do you want me to get you some water? Taehyung's voice was soft, his dark eyes gentle. Taehyung, to get that gross taste out of your mouth. Jungkook nodded silently, and he walked downstairs. Jungkook was about to shout out where the cups were, but then he heard him put one on the counter, and he relaxed. Jungkook crawled under the blankets, resting his head on his pillow. He felt so yucky and groggy. Me, honestly, just puked in front of the biggest bad boy of the school. Then, Taehyung came into the room, a glass filled with water in it. He sat down on the edge of his bed. And Jungkook sat up, and he gracefully handed him the glass. Jungkook gulped it down, feeling his intent, dark eyes on him. Once he was finished, Taehyung grabbed his cup and put it on the end table. They sat there in silence for a long time, Jungkook's eyes on his feet, Taehyung looking all over the room. He had bright, white lights hanging up everywhere on his bedroom, and his eyes searched those the most. Jungkook, you don't need to stay here, Taehyung. Jungkook said softly, and he looked over at him. Jungkook, I'm pretty sure I can take care of myself. Taehyung, I want to stay here. He whispered, making butterflies flutter in Jungkook's stomach. Jungkook gulped and looked away. He knew he was still watching him. Taehyung, Jungkook. Jungkook looked over at him. Come here, quote. Jungkook slowly shook his head as no. He wasn't comfortable with any guys at the moment. Yoonwoo kind of ruined everything. Taehyung stared at him, and then, he reached over, wrapping an arm around his waist, and he pulled him over to him, and onto his lap. He rested his back on headboard, and then laid Jungkook down on top of him, his head on his chest, and he had one hand on his lower back and kind of on his butt, the other hand stroking the back of his head softly, playing with the loose hair strands that fell between his fingers. Jungkook closed his eyes, automatically comfortable, feeling warm and secure. He felt his warm breath on the top of his head, his eyes on him. He had never been so close to Taehyung before. It made him feel weird. He don't know how long Taehyung held him, but he knew it was a long time, because eventually, his eyes became really heavy and drowsy, and his heart slowed down, and he fell asleep. Jin, what the hell is going on here? Jungkook's head shot up, and he gasped when he saw Jin angrily staring at them. Taehyung's eyes were opened, and Jungkook tried getting off him, but he held tightly onto him, protectively holding him. Jungkook pushed his arms off and quickly got off the bed, Taehyung coolly sliding off the bed, straightening his hoodie. Jungkook, Jin Hyun, nothing happened, he said, giving him a look. Jungkook, I got sick at school and Taehyung brought me home. Jin Hyun, hey, you're the damn punk guy that came over a couple days ago. Jin growled, pointing at Taehyung. Taehyung, I am. Taehyung answered, and Jungkook glared over at him. Jungkook, Jin Hyun, just stop. Jungkook groaned. Jungkook, everything is okay, like I said, nothing happened. Jin, I don't care what happened, I want this damn stranger out of our house. Jin demanded, and Jungkook looked over at Taehyung, an apologetic look on his face. Jungkook, I'm sorry Taehyung, he said as he began pushing him out. Taehyung, no Jungkook. Taehyung grabbed his door frame, stopping himself from moving. His dark eyes were on Jungkook. Taehyung, I'm not leaving you right now. Jungkook, seriously Taehyung, I'll talk to you later, he warned, but he just shook his head. Taehyung, Jungkook, let me stay, he said, a bit angrily. Taehyung, I'm not gonna leave just because your damn older brother said so. I don't take orders from strangers. Jin, and I don't let strangers into my damn house, now leave. Jungkook could sense the hatred in both of their words. Taehyung, you can't make me. Taehyung pushed past Jungkook, going close to Jin's face. I should have never let him come here. With how overprotective Jin Hyun was, and how cruel and badass Taehyung was, they would have never gotten along. Jungkook thought in his mind. Jin, don't touch my little brother. Jin growled in his face. Jin, he can do much more than some punk-ass bastard like you. Taehyung, he's mine, too. Taehyung hissed, and Jungkook separated the two from each other. Jungkook, stop, he cried. He had frustrated tears forming in his eyes. Jungkook, Taehyung, just fucking leave. Taehyung stared at him, and then looked angrily up at Jin. He began leaving, but not before turning around. Taehyung, Jungkook, I'm coming back, he said in a powerful voice. Taehyung, and I don't care if he's here or not, princess. Then, he was gone. Jungkook looked worriedly back at Jin, who was seething with rage. Jin, I can't fucking believe you, he snapped, pushing past him. Jin, I thought you knew better. Jungkook, Jin Hyun, seriously, all we did was lay there. No kissing, no sexual touching, nothing. Taehyung cares way too much about me to do something like that. Jin, you think the damn bastard cares about you? Jin turned around to face him, his eyebrows raised, his eyes squinted. Jin, he's a punk. Hey gangster. Jungkook, he is not a gangster, he muttered. Jungkook, and why do you care so much? This is my own life, so leave it alone. Jin, I care so much because you're the only person I have right now. Jin snapped. Jin, and it's not just your own life. That cunt came into my house. He interfered with my little brother. Quote. He paused for a second. Jin, and you're not allowed to see him anymore. Jungkook's eyes widened, his mouth agape. Jungkook, you can't do that, Jin Hyun, he cried as he left the room. Jungkook, that's not fair. Jin, it is too fair. Jin came back into Jungkook's room. Jin, now drop it. He is never to come to this house, and you are never to go to his house. Jungkook, you're not my parent, he growled. Jin, but I'm technically your legal guardian. Jin said back, and Jungkook stopped. It was no use. Jin glared at him for a little while longer, and then he walked out. Jungkook slammed his bedroom door shut, and sat on his bed, frustrated with himself and the world. Jungkook POV. Why did I even care so much anyway? I mean, I don't like Taehyung. He's a bad boy. Hey player, hey stoner, I don't fall in love with people like that. And I'm sure, really soon, Taehyung will forget about me and find somebody else to mess with. Next morning, Jungkook heard some hanks outside his window as he was combing my hair. He frowned, and put the comb away, and opened his blind flaps a little. He gasped. Taehyung's car was parked in front of his house, and he was stepping out of the driver's side. He quickly rushed downstairs, hoping Jin wouldn't beat him to the door. He rushed outside toward Taehyung, his dark eyes on him. Jungkook, Taehyung, no, you need to get out of here, he said, pushing him toward his car. Taehyung, Jungkook, stop it. His voice was firm. Taehyung, I'm bringing you to school. Jungkook, number, he said. Jungkook, why do you keep coming here? You know my brother hates you. Taehyung, because I'm gonna show your brother that he can't make me stay away from you. Taehyung's eyes looked deeply into him, and Jungkook shuddered as he lifted his hand and tucked some hair behind his ear. Jungkook rolled his eyes and pushed his hand away. Jungkook, leave, he said softly. Jungkook, I can't see you anymore. Taehyung, princess, you don't need to listen to him. Taehyung said softly, and then, Jungkook heard the front door open, and Jin approached them. Jungkook, shit, Taehyung, go to school, he said, pushing him once again, but all Taehyung did was grab his wrist and pull him to his chest. Protectively, his dark eyes on Jin, his arms wrapped tightly around him. Jin, get your filthy hands off of him, Jin warned, stopping a couple feet in front of them. Taehyung, Jungkook, get in the car. Taehyung bent down and whispered to him, his eyes still on Jin. Jungkook shook his head and pulled out of Taehyung's grasp, making him look hurt in a way. Jungkook, I can't, he whispered as Jin grabbed his arm gently and pulled him behind him. Taehyung exchanged looks with both of them, and then he angrily got in his car and sped away. Jungkook stood there, motionless as Jin turned and looked at him. Jin was ready to get yelled at again, but all he did was sigh and start walking back to the house. Jin, get your stuff ready, I'm driving you to school. Jimin, why would you think that? Jimin asked, taking a bite of her apple. Jungkook, he was really angry. Jungkook said quietly. Jungkook, I mean, I saw hatred in his eyes when he looked at me. You know, I did kind of choose Jin. He hung over him, quote. Jimin sighed, looking around the cafeteria. Then, his eyes were on something. Jimin, uh-oh. Jungkook, what? He turned to see what he was looking at, and eventually, his eyes landed on Yoonwoo, who was walking toward them, a smirk on his face. Jungkook grabbed my trash, and was going to get up to throw it away, when he reached them, and he put a hand on Jungkook's shoulder and made him sit down. Yoonwoo, how is my boy doing? He snickered, his green eyes intently watching him. Jungkook glared at him. Jungkook, leave me alone, Yoonwoo, he muttered. Yoonwoo, what about your other guy? Yoonwoo looked around. Yoonwoo, Kim Taehyung. Jungkook, he's not my guy, he groaned. Yoonwoo looked at him in surprise. Yoonwoo, oh, so sad, he said. Yoonwoo, I feel very sorry for your breakup. Jimin, my god Yoonwoo, just fucking leave him alone, he doesn't like you at all. His eyes turned angrily over to Jimin, who casually took a sip of his juice. Yoonwoo rolled his eyes and stood up, his eyes wandering the cafeteria, and then, they landed on something, and he chuckled. Yoonwoo, well. Jungkook looked over too, and saw Taehyung standing there, leaning against a locker outside of the cafeteria, his eyes on them. Yoonwoo looked down at Jungkook, an evil twinkle in his eye. Yoonwoo, shall we show Taehyung how it's done? Yoonwoo asked, and Jungkook looked at him in confusion. Then, he bent down super quickly, and kissed him. A big, wet kiss. Jungkook pulled away, only seeing Yoonwoo's mischievous eyes before Taehyung grabbed him by the collar of his shirt and shoved him away from them. Jungkook stood up, surprised. And just about all the sophomores in the lunchroom stopped eating and watched. Yoonwoo slammed into a wall, and he chuckled, taking a step toward the seething Taehyung, who was standing protectively in front of Jungkook. Taehyung, don't ever fucking touch her. Taehyung growled, and Yoonwoo just snickered, putting his hands up in defense. Yoonwoo, alright, he said, although Jungkook knew they were a lie. He began walking away, and people started eating again. Taehyung turned to look at him, a bitter coldness in his eyes. Jungkook, thank you so much, Taehyung, he said, but all Taehyung did was stare at him and walk away. Jungkook frowned, looking at Jimin. He raised his eyebrows, his eyes widened. Jimin, well, I can kind of see what you mean, he said quietly. He tried falling asleep that night, but he couldn't. He reached up and played with the lights hanging all around his bed, touching the little bulbs with his fingers. He didn't know what he was so stressed about. Was it Yoonwoo, or Jin, or Taehyung? It was a Friday night, and he had no idea why he was going to bed so early. He guessed he was just way too tired. He went up to get a glass of water, when he heard booming music a couple doors down from where they lived. He frowned, looking out the window, and seeing lights in somebody's house. A party. And it wasn't long before he realized whose it was. Taehyung. He frowned. Why didn't he invite him to the party? He looked down the hallway to see if Jin was downstairs. He was. Jungkook gulped, and ran back in his room, and put a blue sweatshirt on with some ripped jeans, his blue Converse, and a bracelet on. Then, he snuck downstairs, ducking behind the couch, and he made it out the front door. He walked casually down the street over to Taehyung's house and noticed that it wasn't just seniors going there, every single high school grade was going. Did Jimin know about this? He thought. He stepped inside. It was surely wild. There was people drinking, laughing, dancing, making out, playing games, everything. Taehyung sure knew how to throw a successful high school party. As he was walking around, he couldn't believe that he saw Jimin there, laughing and talking to some guys. Jungkook angrily pulled him aside, and his face dropped once he saw it was Jungkook. Jimin, Jungkook, listen. Jungkook, no, you listen to me. He growled. Jungkook, you came here to Taehyung's party without telling me. Jimin, listen, I came here to talk to Taehyung about you guys. He said. Jimin, and I did, actually. Jungkook, ugh, I can't believe you. He groaned, walking away, and Jimin followed him. Jaemin, hey, I'm just trying to. Jungkook stopped, which made Jimin bump into his back. Jimin looked over his shoulder, and then gasped. Jimin, oh no. Taehyung was in a corner, making out with Jillian Summers. Jungkook's heart began to ache, his ears throbbing. He watched as he was pressing her up against the wall, her fingers tangled in his hair, his hands trailing all over her body.